to talk about, how do bees get through the winter? I know we're not quite there yet, and I don't know if Texas down here will ever see winter. I don't know, but most of the U.S. has to struggle with bees through the winter. You can see this picture here. That's at least a foot of snow on top of those hives. Isn't that crazy? Wow. And I just can't imagine bees getting through winter. Although I really think my bees would do better in the picture right there than they are right now, because at 50 degrees, they're pretty active. They're actively running through their stores of food. They want to, they don't have to cluster at 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And they're kind of active. And sometimes they can get a little too active, eat through too much food. So let's jump right into the teaching tonight. I want to share with you winter stresses on honeybees. Now, I kind of pulled out 4 stresses that I think are hard on bees, and they are a low population, viruses, starvation, and poor nutrition. Now, poor nutrition and starvation are different because poor nutrition, it might mean that they don't really starve because they have plenty of food on board, but it may not be the right food. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So these stresses, there's many more, but these are the top stresses. Now, you might be saying, well, you didn't mention the Varroa destructor mite. Yeah, I did. It's actually viruses. Okay. So that's what mites are so bad about doing. They spread viruses. So, mites do bite bees. They bite the pupae. They can injure them. But the worst effect that they have is by spreading the viruses through their bites that occur in the wintertime. So the more mites you have, the more viruses you're going to have to take out your bees. Low populations, it gets cold, bees start dying. If they're not reproducing, making a lot of bees like they do in the summertime, in the winter, they don't make a lot of brood if you don't feed them. And they get low on population. And the population is what heats your hive. I know some of you want to keep your bees real toasty and wrap them up, keep them warm. You guys have asked me about putting heaters under them, light bulbs around them and all that. Nothing can help your bees stay warmer than population. A strong, heavily populated hive. Heater bees is what is going to save the day. Not all the gizmos that we can give them works as good as just fellow bees standing next to each other in the hive, clustering together. Oh, yeah. So let's talk about more about low population. Now, in this picture, this is a picture of a winter cluster from the top. Notice how they kind of get together. We call it a ball. This is maybe a basketball size, a little bit smaller. And if you were to take your deeps apart or your hive off, if hive top cover, if you've only got one deep, in the wintertime, I don't recommend you open it, but this is what you would see. And it's interesting. It's always fascinated me that bees have to make a cluster, a ball to stay warm, clustering together. But that cluster is broken up by the frames, right? Well, if they're empty frames, then the bees can push their heads in there and there's not much distance, just the wall to the other side. But you kind of don't want that because that means there's no food where the bees are clustered either, But that's a winter cluster right there. Now, I want to first talk about the queen, what kind of issues we have in the wintertime with the queen. Well, low population is a problem with the queen, okay? The queen didn't lay enough brood in the fall. And so what's happened now, there's not enough bees of winter physiology. And this hive here, if I saw that right now in Illinois, that hive would not make it through the winter. That's too small of a number of bees, believe it or not. Illinois has 5 months of just pounding cold weather. 5 months bees may not fly at all. And so we need a lot more bigger clusters than that. But some of you that live here in Texas or in warmer climates and you still have winter, that might be okay. That might be fine. But that's not a lot of bees. And if you suffer from your bees dying in the wintertime, here's the deal, okay? A lot of bees die in the winter from low population. And how it presents itself is usually people go out there and they don't see any bees in there at all anymore. Like, all my bees are gone. Did they abscond? Are they gone? Well, they kept getting lower and lower in population. and they just kept either carrying the dead sisters out or they kept flying out and dying outside the hive until they were all just gone. This has already happened to a lot of beekeepers already this fall. That's sad, but some beekeepers have already reported losing their bees because of a low population. Now, it's hard to evaluate the queen if you're a brand new beekeeper. You just kind of don't know. Like, how do I know if I got a bad queen? Once you get a little more experience in beekeeping, you can quickly tell. And I've made some videos just sometimes by the entrance. There's not a lot of activity at the entrance, but if it's warm enough, you can go in and do an inspection, and you got to see a lot of frames of eggs, larvae, and brood in the hive. All right, so we keep circling back to starvation, nutrition, and I want to emphasize that the diet of the honeybee consists of really just honey and nectar. Those are different, but nectar turns into honey. And then there's pollen and bee bread. Those are a little bit different, but pollen turns into bee bread. But these are the main ingredients that the bees have to survive. They have to have carbohydrates from the honey and the nectar, and they have to have a lot of protein, and that comes from the pollen and the bee bread. So starvation is really hard. Nutrition is really difficult for bees. And I've stressed this so many times before, but undernourished bees can really make bees dwindle down really fast in the hive. Because if you really study bees, you know a lot about bees. We need bees that are called Diutinus bees. They're winter bees. And these bees are able to be nurse bees a long period of time. Now, nurse bees are kind of cool. These Diutinus nurse bees. Can we just talk about Diutinus nurse bees for a minute? Well, when bees are able to eat and consume amino acid, that comes from pollen or bee bread. They can take that amino acid, which is really it's just protein, but they can consume the protein. And what happens is that they have fat bodies near the wall of their abdomen, these Diutinus winter bees, and these proteins gets absorbed in the fat bodies of these winter bees, and it gets in the fat bodies and gets into the bloodstream, gets into the fat bodies. And what it enables the bees to do is to have much more protein that they can rely on just to survive. It just makes their immune system stronger. It makes them stronger. These fat bodies that are full of, we call it vitellogenin. It's VG for short, but this vitellogenin that they have, this protein that they're able to store in their fat bodies, gets them through the winter and enables them to do so many cool things that summer bees can't do. But if that's missing, then that's going to be really bad. So undernourished larvae, like in the fall, like let's say you had a queen and she was laying really good in late summer, early fall, but you had some kind of maybe not a very good nectar flow during that time, a dearth, of course. What happens is that these bees that should be developing are undernourished as larvae. And when they grow up and they get bigger as adults, they're so many things are compromised in these adult bees. They don't live as long, they die younger, they're weak, they're smaller. And so this is what happens to winter bees if they're not fed well. They won't have the ability to live out their 4 to 8 months. So we got to keep feeding bees. I made a really conscious attempt this year to really feed my hives in the fall. Really, the 1-to-1 sugar water with the additives. That's what I really pounded them with, and I hope that's going to pay off. But I'll tell you, we need these Diutinus bees in the wintertime because this is what gets our bees through the winter. So, when you think about why bees die in the wintertime or even the early fall, a lot of people say, I think it's one thing, like, one thing like maybe the mites got them or cold weather got them. But, truthfully, they die by 1,000 cuts. There's so many things working against the honeybee that it accumulates sometimes, even when we do everything right. But what we have to do is do everything we can to keep them as strong as possible, even though we know they're getting cut by 1,000 cuts. And like, because sometimes we miss some things, you know. So yeah, this increased vitellogenin in the bees, we don't want to miss that. This is going to make them stronger, healthier, more protein in the hive. It has it has an increased antioxidant capacity. It has it can toxification of enzymes and everything. It is just a multifunctional storage bin for the bees and their bodies. So it's really kind of cool because bees don't really have to have. I mean, they have to, but they can do it. They can go longer without um, brood or, I mean, protein in the hive if they have protein in their bodies. So, in other words, if your bees are lacking pollen or bee bread in the wintertime, but they're winter bees with a lot of vitellogenin, they can actually live longer because they don't need to take in that much protein from the comb around them. So that's why we have to really watch that. And yeah, that's what I've been really looking into more, is just how important these fat bodies and the use of these glands for the bees to have the glands that work properly to make, you know, hypopharyngeal glands to make royal jelly. They have to have good fat bodies, and that comes by this vitellogenin getting into the bloodstream of the bees. So bees dying in the winter, they can die from starvation and low population. And that's because if a low population means they don't have heaters anymore, the heat's been turned off. So that's the two things that have to go together, because bees make heat by eating, just like we do. So they have to consume food in order to make the heat. And so that's what this fall, that's what I was seeing. Things were going good. I'm hoping it's going to be the case for me. Also, bees cluster. They don't keep the inside of their hive warm. So some of you may have noticed me in my videos insulating the tops of my hives with bad insulation while I feed them, trying to build up those winter bees, trying to get those fat bodies built up. And so obviously, I love providing food for my bees in the winter time. And this is important. In the bottom picture, you can see here, this is a winter bee kind board from last winter that took a picture of how they've eaten it all. They've broken it away from the board itself. It's sitting on top of the frames, which is fine. Many times they do that, which is almost an advantage because it gets closer down into the cluster area. But yeah, these winter bee kinds is a way that for me to keep feeding my bees, and that way I can keep raising these bees of winter physiology all winter long as they eat that protein that's in the candy as well. And it does have a very passive slot or a vent at the top. It's not anything more than about a couple of 2.5 inches long, maybe, and it's about a 1/4 inch. It's very small. So it's not really excessive ventilation. And why that's really worked out well is because it was serendipity that this happened. The first winter bee kinds we ever made millions of years ago, they actually had 2 larger ventilated holes on each front and back of the winter bee kind. Some of you that bought the very first ones probably still might have those. But we've found that to be too much ventilation. It didn't hurt the bees, but it was unnecessary to have that much ventilation. And so we cut it down to where we just had the front slot. Bees, we noticed, were using that to defecate outside the hive in the middle of the wintertime. And that has so many benefits when we see that. So that's something that has surprised us, that we just wanted a little bit of ventilation at the top there to keep excess moisture out. But we found that the bees were using that to actually fly out briefly, go potty, come right back in, even on the coldest of days. You can see them doing that. So it's quite amazing. So your bees are hanging out in the wintertime. Some of you live really far north, more than I do. And you've already told me you put your winter bee kinds on already. They're eating them, and it's already cold where you're at. And Others may not want to feed your bees in the wintertime. I understand that. That's hey, you do you, I'll do me. But I just find it's so much better to come out of winter with a lot of bees that are well fed. So right now, we all have our fingers crossed that we'll have better results this year than we had last year with our bees, and that's for sure. Last year it wasn't a real strong year for the bees going through winter across the country. So hopefully it'll turn out better this year. Just remember, if you're still wrapping your hives, I've still got a little bit of time to wrap my bees because we don't have cold weather for a little bit, and still got time to feed them a little bit more sugar water in the 50-degree mark. So I'm going to keep trying to build up more bees of winter physiology. All right, let me tell you about the word of the live stream. Okay, this is a word I love. I love saying this word, and it is fecundity. And that means it's the queen's ability to lay a large number of eggs, over 1,000 eggs a day. Get used to saying that word. It's a fun word to say, fecundity. The fecundity of the queen. It means that she is a really good laying queen. Isn't that crazy? And yeah, those kind of words are fun to say and fun to remember, fun to use at your bee club. That's for sure. All right, well, let's get into some question time to see what you guys have on your mind for questions. I'm looking forward to speaking tomorrow. I'm going to be speaking on bee nutrition here in Waco, Texas at the conference. We're at the Waco Conference Center. And then I'll be speaking again on Saturday on making better bees and making better beekeepers. And I've already met a lot of you here this afternoon, this evening. All right. Hey, David, will bees feed off high moisture nectar frames in the wintertime? Thanks. Oh, I see. That could actually turn into crystallized sugar. If they don't get a chance to dry it down and it does crystallize, I'm thinking it could crystallize actually. And bees don't do too good unless there's a lot of moisture. They don't do too good at eating that crystallized sugar, honey water, honey, whatever you have in there. So they might. You're just going to keep an eye on it. Hey, Mary Ellen. I've always used the winter bee kind. The bees break from cluster. The bees break from cluster to go up there to eat? Absolutely. I've shown videos. In fact, the picture that I showed in my presentation today showed the bees were all up there covering all those frames. In fact, Mary Ellen, if it really goes super well, then many of my hives don't even cluster that much because there's so many bees being born, being raised off of that candy. They're so warm in there, they don't have to cluster. They don't have to make such a tight cluster. And that allows them to move around a little bit more. Will adding a shim to top of brood box help bees cluster in the winter? A lot of people worry about the bees not being able to cluster in the wintertime. And even some people feel like they should take some frames out to let the bees ball up in a big cluster together, make it easier. Some people even, I remember Reverend Langstroth even tried cutting out some of the comb in the fall in the center of them so they could have more room to make a cluster and get tighter together. That is not necessary. I know we're thinking it would help at all, but no, that's not necessary at all. Thanks, Carmen, for your super sticker. Bees find a way to really cluster together and stay warm. Yeah, it's not that critical. Do you feed your bees now? Well, Debbie, yeah, I sure do. I've made a lot of videos over the last couple of weeks of me actually out there feeding my bees. I've been feeding my bees since October the 1st, 1-to-1 sugar water. Absolutely. Thank you for your donation there of $10. What does that say? Florida hive? Lots of bees and a queen, no brood. I'm feeding, but I think I'm too late. I think about to abscond. Can I stop it? Oh, I see. So you're thinking that you have lots of bees and a queen, but no brood, and you're feeding them, and you're worried about them absconding. Um, I'm not sure they would abscond just because maybe there's no brood in there. Maybe your queen will pick up and start laying pretty soon. Maybe you've got a queen that got replaced. Sometimes that happens, and she just hasn't started laying yet. So keep an eye on that queen, but I wouldn't worry about them absconding. Hi, David. I just finished my Heroes to Hives course and passed the certification test. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's an organization like Hives for Heroes, right? But I think it's a parallel organization that does the same thing, using bees to help first responders, veterans, our servicemen and women. So that's great. Congratulations. Yeah, I've had other people tell me about passing that. It's kind of rewarding to pass that, isn't it? David, I'm using 1.5-inch foam insulation on your feeder boards with cutout for jars and 1.5 insulation box over the jars and opening. That's so cool, Carrie, because I thought about doing the same thing. If I had time, I think I would have done that and just put that foam board up there and it'll cut out holes for the jars. How cold would you keep liquid feeding going? Love the installation videos. Carrie, I would always test it out. If you're using my feeder board, you can open it, right, without the bees getting out or getting even cold for that matter. So here's how I test it, Carrie. I actually go out there, and when it's really, really cold, like sometimes I was doing it when it was down to 32 degrees freezing, Fahrenheit. And I would pull the jar up to see if bees were there taking it. If they weren't there, they were gone. That means they were clustering too far below. They're not interested in the cold liquid. But if they're there eating it, keep feeding them. That's what I'm doing. That makes sense. If they're taking it, give it to them. I do like for them to be able to fly once a week or once every 2 weeks just to relieve themselves. New beak going into first winter. Started with 2 colonies down to 1 now. Queen either stopped laying or is gone. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Will they last until spring? And can I get a new mated queen? Hope no laying workers. Boy, that's a tough one. If you lose your queen now, you wouldn't think you would need brood, but we do. We need a lot of brood. She doesn't lay terribly, a lot of brood, but you do need replacement bees. Even if you're not feeding them, she will continue to lay some brood all winter. Without her, they might make it into spring, but I'm sad to say that as soon as spring rolls around without a queen, that's going to be hard for them. It really will. They may not recover from that because they don't have any eggs to raise a new one. Oh, thanks for being a member of my YouTube channel, Brian, for 17 months now. The BTM sliders that you made a video of that you slide in and out of the winter. Oh, the bottom board. Do you think the entrance is small enough to be mouse guards? I made mine with magnets so I can change width. I made a demonstration, Brian, of one that I was making. And no, the one that I made was not large enough for a mouse guard. But I am in the process of making a bunch more. I'm going to make some videos when I get back home. And what another Beak Squad member showed me, what he did, which I really like, Larry showed me that he was using, like where that gap was, the one I made, he put chicken wire in there. It's about a 1/4 inch or less, I think. But that was a really great. Bees can still go in and out, but mice can't. So that's kind of cool. Hey, Jenny, thanks for being, you became a YouTube member. Well, thanks for joining my membership here on YouTube. Appreciate it. Yeah. Are drones Diutinus bees? Well, they can be. They don't really serve age polytheism like bees do. They don't have division of labor. Drones don't. They have one thing on their mind, and that's to mate with virgin queens. However, they can live longer in the wintertime because they're not doing what they normally do. They're not, they are long-lived, I guess. So they do kind of qualify. I've seen them over winter with the cluster. The bees take care of them. But it's really rare because the bees don't like them to be there in the wintertime, and they kill them. They won't let them in the hive, but they somehow a few get by. I don't know how that happens. Some drones just have a way with the women, I guess, to winter with them. Hey, Justin, Pat's comment about the mite washes are priceless. Please buy him an ice cold beverage. Did I? I didn't see Pat's comment. Did I? You have to put that up there, see what he said. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Marianne. Good to see you, Marianne. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the donation tonight, all the way to my hotel room high atop the Hilton in Waco, Texas, as I'm speaking at the Texas conference starting tomorrow. Is there a way to test how much moisture is in your hive without opening it? Yes, I made a video about that. And what I do and what I did, I've got sensitive scientific instruments that I can put in a hive, and that's what I originally used to make the Winter Be Kind board to gather the data that I needed. But you have to hook that up to a laptop. What I use is I have a weather station. I bought it off Amazon, and that weather station has an indoor temperature and humidity sensor. So I just stuck it. It's wireless. I just stuck it in my hive. And so it feeds back to my weather station, the humidity and the temperature, what's going on inside my hive. I even mounted one in the middle of a Winter Be Kind board. You should watch that video and you can monitor. I showed you how to monitor that. Yep. Thank you, Saddle Pants, for your super sticker. You guys are kind tonight to donate to the live stream. Appreciate it. We got a giveaway coming up. Did I say that? All right. I did something this week. I became vice president of my local bee club, Red Beard Hives. I met you. Didn't I meet you in Philadelphia? I met you somewhere recently. Sorry, I can't remember. Well, congratulations on being the vice president of your local bee club. I have some advice for you as the vice president. Are you ready? First of all, number one, be nice. Be nice and respectful to everyone that's in your club. Everyone's going to be wanting to, ask questions, do things differently. Let's treat everybody nice. And I know you are, but let's make that a warm place where everybody will enjoy and be treated with respect. Hey, Wayne, thanks for your super sticker. Always good to hear from Wayne tonight. Yeah. Hey, David, what would cause the comb to become brittle on the outside of frames? Yeah, wax made by honeybees is really thin, actually, in the comb. The walls are thin. And when it gets colder or drier or both, it gets extremely brittle. I mean, brittle. It's okay if you don't touch it, but as soon as you touch it, brittle. Thanks, EL, for your donation tonight on the super sticker. Appreciate it. So, yeah, when it's warmer, you don't see it being brittle but boy, when it gets cold, that comb is brittle. Well, hello, Josh. How are you tonight? What about breaking the propolis seal this time of the year to inspect on a good warm day in South Carolina? Yeah, Josh, I know a lot of people, I used to worry about the propolis seal. I've spoken about that before. By the way, those of you that are new and may not know what this means, the propolis is what bees gather from plants and trees, and they bring it inside their hive and use it as part of their immune system. It's antimicrobial. But anyway, this propolis, it's real sticky in the summer, but it's real brittle. And when it gets cold, it doesn't always stick back together. So when I'm working my bees like now, and it may not do that, I'll just put a brick on there. It will join back together even on cold days. Brittle propolis will, if you put pressure on it, put some weight on there. Oh, Stark Lavender. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan, for your donation. Sorry I didn't get to call you back. I've been getting ready to travel and speak and all, but been feeding the hives already. They have been going through supplies fast this year. I know. We all worry about that. I need to buy more sugar when I get back. Wow. I hear you. Hi, David. I have 2 gallons of sugar syrup with your feed mix. How long will it last? Mixed in the house at room temperature. I keep shaking it up, stirring it to keep it mixed. Also, would it last until next spring? I kind of don't think so. If you've added all those good proteins and things in there, good food good food will go bad quicker than food filled with preservatives and all that. So you might want to put it in the refrigerator to keep it from, getting moldy or yeasty or something. Oh, hey, Matthew, thanks for your donation. Appreciate it. Matthew, yeah. Hey, James, how many holes and what size do you put in your quart jar lids? We sell those lids on our website, and we sell some. And here's the deal. Um, it's amazing. Mark Spangler came over and worked bees with me out of Indiana, and he brought over a screen. You know how you have the canning jars, how they have that plate in the middle. Thank you, Trash Hunter Dumpster LLC. Dumpster dive in there. Thank you for your super sticker. But the Mark showed me that he actually took out the plate and put in screen. And I'm like, Mark, you're crazy. No way. He said, no, it doesn't leak. It's a screen. And the bees will eat it without it leaking. So the holes, not that critical. If you overdo it, it's probably more critical if you underdo it, if you don't put enough holes in it. The vacuum is what keeps it from leaking out. Yeah. I know a lot of people wonder about how big of the holes, how many, and all that, but it doesn't make a big difference. All right. Ken, why go from 15% patties to 4% in the winter? Why go from 15% to 4% in the winter? I wonder what that percentage means. Does that mean protein in the patties or sugar in the patties? I'm not sure what you mean by the 15 to 14 or 4%. Yeah. I want to take a stab at it, and I don't think it really is all that crucial. A lot of people don't feed a lot of protein to their bees in the wintertime. That's historically, but I'm giving a presentation tomorrow, and I'm going to share when the first person, notably in history, actually fed bees and what year it was. It was a long time ago. Wow. But I think it's important to feed bees protein. Hey, Elizabeth, one of my hives haven't had any eggs for a month or two. Lots of bees right now, but will they have enough bees for winter? That's scary, Elizabeth. I'm sorry to hear your bees haven't had any eggs for a month or two. Your winter bees are going to keep living, but whatever that egg problem is, the queen is having an issue, then that's going to have to be quickly dealt with when it warms up in the spring. If you can get a queen quick and put her in there, maybe you have enough bees to get going again. Like I said earlier, you always need a queen in there to keep brood being raised all winter. Yeah. Take a moment and subscribe. If those of you that are watching the replay or watching live, hit the like button and subscribe. We would sure appreciate it. All right. It's like Carl maybe and Ellen Berger. I've heard pollen patties aren't good for the winter. Is that true? The first experience I had in the old days of beekeeping was I had a bunch of mating nukes, and I usually combine them back together in the fall to be hives, right? And they were 5-frame mating nukes. One of them I missed, and I didn't realize I forgot to combine it. And one day I was in the winter, I looked on a warm winter day in the middle of winter, bees are flying in and out this little 5-frame mating nook in Illinois. And so I felt sorry for them. And back then I did use pollen patties. And so I put a pollen patty on there, and that hive made it just on a pollen patty. It's a little bit of sugar in there too. But so, I think a lot of people understand the importance of protein in a hive. But on the other hand, most people are fearful that pollen will make bees in the wintertime. I don't know why anybody would fear that. I like that. But pollen in the wintertime will make bees have more brood, more heaters. That's crazy, isn't it? All right, a couple more questions, then we'll have a giveaway coming up. Hello, David. I live in southern Michigan and was wondering if there is any cap brood right now, and would it be a good time to use OA? Now, John, that's a very good question. And whether or not you have cap brood, it's going to depend largely on your bees and how you configure them. Hopefully my hives have a lot of cap brood. Yeah. Yeah, because I've been feeding them. I hope they've been raising bees and capping that over, bees of winter physiology. But if you don't, typically a hive that's smaller, that you haven't fed, that they've slowed down laying a lot, they would have a lot less capped over brood. OA, a lot of beekeepers like using that in the wintertime. Now, because you are more broodless, most people are more broodless. I don't think I am, but most people are broodless. OA does not. OA stands for oxalic acid. It doesn't kill below the caps where the mites are the most sometimes. And so you got to hit them more than once. But a lot of people do use OA in the winter. I'll be using it this winter. Yep. That's a good question. Hey, Larry. Good to see you here tonight. If a hive becomes queenless in the winter, will workers start laying? If so, it wouldn't be discovered until spring if hive can't be inspected. How much of this is a problem? It's happened to me one time. I lost the queen in the wintertime, and when I went out there as soon as I could, my bees were full of drones. It was the largest full box of drones you've ever seen. So apparently they did have laying workers in the absence of the queen. And boy, did it have a lot of mites too. So yeah, that can be a problem if a hive becomes queenless in the winter, because after about 3 weeks of no queen and no brood, the workers could start laying. All right, let's have a giveaway. Tonight's giveaway, after all this talk about winter and winter bee kinds, we're going to be giving away a winter bee kind board. So I guess all of you can try for it. I'm sure all of you have probably ordered one from us already. Those are going to be shipping out probably in December. And I want to take a moment too after we start collecting comments, but we're going to have you leave hashtag WBK to win a winter bee kind. So if you've already bought some, one more won't hurt you. If you've never heard of them, you can try to win one tonight. But this is something that I created many years ago. It's an adaptation of the traditional candy board that dates back who knows how long. I read about it in the 1800s, but beekeepers putting candy on top of their hive. And if you look real closely in the picture, my early candy boards, instead of adding the protein like I do now into the sugar water mix, I actually buried it in the sugar, a pollen patty. You can actually kind of see it buried in there. But anyway, this goes on top of your hive. It's a insurance plan. It shouldn't be relied on for food. This is a way to help your bees not starve out. Okay. Now, having said that, my bees eat these like crazy. Sometimes they'll eat at least 1, 2, up to 3 of these a week. That's crazy. And they use it to raise brood in the wintertime. I put it on there to help my bees survive. But then when I started noticing they were building up brood and getting bigger during the winter, I went along with that. I thought I'm okay with my bees having a lot of bees in the wintertime. It's kind of cool. So it's fine with me if they do that. But you put these on top with the candy side down, and the bees eat it. How fast they eat it, nobody knows. They may dodge it for a little bit. They may go right to it. It's up to the bees. When it's empty, you can go out there on a cold day, open the lid quickly, knock the bees off the empty board, and take it in your house and refill it. These come with a recipe on how to refill them. And Sheri and I made a video online how to refill them as well. Please only leave one comment for yourself for the WBK. It won't really help to put your name in there more than once. So anyway, put them on there, take them off when they eat them all, put a new one on there after you fill it back up, and away you go. It works really good. Yeah. How often are you checking your sugar boards? Do you keep replacing them as they eat? Yes, I do. I don't like there to be a gap in food in the wintertime. Bees start raising brood. They need that food. I'm checking every week just to get a pulse. I don't, open the hive up big time. I'll just raise it up an inch or two to see how much is left. And then I'll go ahead and make a decision to replace it or let them eat a little bit longer. Should I block the bottom entrance when I put the winter bee kind board on? I've done both. It's not absolutely necessary, but sometimes I've blocked the bottom and let them only use the top. And that way they don't have to walk over their dead sisters on the bottom board to go outside and potty. They can use the little gap at the top. How do you switch out the winter bee kinds in the winter without exposing the bees to cold? Well, as I just mentioned, I know it's a concern. Bees don't operate the way we do. They stay warm by being close to each other. And so when you open up the top, they're going to stay close to each other. They don't heat the inside of their hive up like we do our homes. Just going to do it in 15 or 20 seconds. Remember, I've done this for a decade and a half, and you can watch all my videos of me doing it. It really works out well. You're not lifting frames out. You're just replacing these candy boards. Yep. My birthday is tomorrow. Maybe this would be a great birthday gift. Oh, that would be a great birthday present. Good luck. Yeah, good luck on winning the birthday winner be kind. Oh, Rich Hargrove, thanks for being a member of the channel, Rich. It was good to see you at the Illinois State meeting. We had fun together. Yeah. Another great Bee University class, David and team. Thank you. By the way, I know we'll get this giveaway, but by the way, we have our classes 50% off on Black Friday and that weekend. Those of you that may want to take a class with me. Will the hole in the winter bee kind allow robber bees? In the perfect scenario, it could, but this is why they're put on in the wintertime. Bees aren't flying and bees have given up looking for stuff. But if it is a problem, or if you think it could be, block it off. Put a little duct tape across there. Don't let anybody in or out. Let them go out the bottom or something. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Rich. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you and your team enjoy your time off. Well, I am. I'm really looking forward to this conference, but I'm looking forward to flying home on Sunday because I'm going to hang up my speaking hat for the year. And that's going to be so fun. And be home around a camp or a fireplace and enjoy fun time in the evening. All right, let's draw for the winner be kind. See who's going to win tonight. All right, fingers crossed, everybody. And if you want an autograph, let us know. Some people like my autograph. Others would be just not wanting my autograph. All right, who's it going to be tonight? Let's go. Some people are still putting their name in. Wow, that's cool. And you can buy these. They're still for sale, by the way. Yeah. The biker bee. Hey, I'm a biker, but it looks like you're maybe motorcycle. I'm a cyclist. The biker bee is the winner of the winner be kind. Congratulations. Be sure and email us, as you see below there, beaksquadwinner@gmail.com. Oh, by the way, Beak Squad is the name of all of us here on my live stream. YouTube makes all of us content creators pick a name, a handle, they call it. And so years ago, I picked Beak. Beak stands for beekeeper, new beekeeper, sometimes just a beekeeper. And you're the squad. So Beak Squad. We have a lot of Beak Squad merchandise, by the way. And if you want to get some Beak Squad merchandise, Robbie might flash some of that stuff across the screen. You can buy shirts, tumblers with Beak Squad information on it. There it goes. And so I want to emphasize how cool it is that we're Beak Squad. At some of these conferences I go to, you guys come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm a Beak Squad member, David. I'm a Beak Squad member." And I always like that. So yeah, cool to hear from Beak Squad members. A lot of fun. All right, good. Let's have more questions. Have you ever had frames swell to the point that it's difficult to remove them from the box? Is that normal? Should I be worried? I do have that. They're not really swelling. What's happening, I mean, they might swell a little bit from the moisture, but what's happening, the bees put propolis everywhere. And the more I've noticed this, the propolis gets in between the frames so much that it pushes them apart. You can't get them back together. Sometimes when you take them out, the propolis is a problem. This winter, I had a ball. I took all my frames that I had in storage, and I'm cycling frames out of live hives, replacing them. And I've got more to do this winter, but I scraped out so many old frames. Rather than throw them away, I just put new foundation and scraped all the propolis off. And that does make it easier. That does make them easier to manipulate. Absolutely. So think about getting all the propolis and all the burr comb off. Take a frame out and scrape her down to the wood again. You'll have your space back. I guarantee it. That's a good question. Well, Gene, how are you doing? What do you think of plastic bottom boards? I think they're the best thing ever made. I have thrown away so many wooden bottom boards because they're the closest to the ground, the closest to the moisture. Oh, it pains me to see my bottom boards that are made out of wood just get so wet and soggy and such. I made a lot of bottom boards out of plywood when I was first starting out beekeeping. I lost those pretty soon. But plastic ones, I love them. They last and last and last. Same with the lids too. Last I saw bee activity cleansing flights around my hive was on Sunday when the temps were around low to mid 60s. Since then, high temp has been 50. No activity outside. Is this normal? Yes, it is very normal. Bees don't fly that much. If you're like me in Illinois, nowhere to go. It's 50 degrees. That's a clustering temperature. They're not going to try to do much. Now, they will, I'll give you a caveat, they will fly on a very sunny day. If it's not very windy and the sun comes out, they can fly at low temperatures down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes 30. You'll see them pop out, pop back in. So it can happen, but not if it's cloudy and dark. All right. Will closing up the hive for a few days help the bees orient to a new hive placement when moving a short distance? No, not really, because they're used to that happening when it rains for 2 days. And as soon as it clears off, they know exactly where they live. They know exactly where to go. You got to force them to take an orientation flight, put something big in front of the opening. How do you like my glasses? I didn't wear the red ones tonight. Some of you thought you thought I was going to wear the red ones, didn't you? I didn't wear the red ones. David, if I need to add or replace my queen in 2027, when is the earliest time I should do that in Southwest Georgia? Thanks. Now, do you mean 2026? Are you rushing me? Isn't this 2025? I think you're going to have to replace that queen by 2027. But if you do, let's see, earliest time I should do that. Well, if you can replace your queen in the spring, that'd be good. They're going to replace her for you, probably. I replace all my queens every year if I can around June the 21st, summer solstice. I assume no live on Thanksgiving Day. No, I appreciate all of you. I'd love to spend Thanksgiving in your house with you on next Thursday, but I'm not going to. I love you and I appreciate you, but I'm going to spend time, give priority to my family next Thursday on Thanksgiving. So make a note, no live stream next Thursday. We get to enjoy that holiday. All right. Yeah. All right, James, what's the best way to remove propolis from screens on your feeder boards? Well, here's the trick, James. You can use a strong alcohol, and I like to use brass brushes. Brass won't kind of damage other metals. So you can put a little rubbing alcohol on there, rub it with a brass brush. Or here's another one, but I'm going to say be very careful. You can use a lighter, some heat, a fire, a little torch. But if you're going to use these big, where you sweat joints, plumber torches, that might burn through the screen. So you're going to have to be very careful. But boy, that melts that away fast. Heat will do it, a flame. But be careful. Don't ruin your screen. Don't burn your screen all the way through. I made a video on that, by the way. Yeah, you guys are great. Thanks for everything. Thanks, Sean. How can I get my town to approve hives on public property and support a Bee City USA project? I think the best thing you can do is make a pitch. Maybe you've already done that to your municipality. Tell them the pros of bees. Tell them the steps that you're going to take in making sure that bees are safe, people are safe, signage, whatever. I mean, you're just going to make a case for bees don't really bother people. They go to flowers and all that, and that you'll swarm control in the city. That's a big thing. I've taught a lot of classes on keeping bees in town. And the one thing I tell beekeepers, if you're going to keep bees in town, do not let them swarm. That's going to hurt your reputation. Nobody likes to see a monstrous, we love it as beekeepers, but nobody likes to see a big swarm of bees if you don't know bees, right? You think Hollywood, bees are going to kill everybody. So you got to be a good beekeeper to keep them in the boxes and go into flowers, not to swimming pools. That's a good idea. Just talk it up, talk nice. Yeah. One hive with 2 deeps, mostly honey, half frame of brood, half of nectar. I saw the queen and drone. Should I feed them? I'm in North Alabama, 75 today. Should I feed them? Doomed hive. Yeah, that's an important thing. I'm teaching on this tomorrow here in Texas. But if you're ever suspicious that the hive is in trouble, feeding is what I think you should always do. Always, bees are always going to need fed if they're in trouble. That's my view. Yeah, that's fun. I've noticed my queens that I make do far better than their daughters, keeping mite levels down versus purchased progeny. What are your thoughts? Okay, notice my queens that I make do far better with their daughters. Oh, I see. Okay. So what you're doing, Brian, you're raising some VSH queens there, sensitive hygienic queens. And sometimes the purchase queens you're buying, they're missing that genetic complement of keeping mites low through the bees being sensitive hygienic. Be a lot of discussion on that tomorrow here in Texas. But so that's what's happening. You tapped into some good genetics. Yeah, that's why I always tell people to raise your own queens and raise queens from the hives that are having a real low mite counts. Let's keep that genetic line going. Where can I get my winter bee Kime board? Right there, honeybeesonline.com, scrolling across the screen, Doug. Do you see that? Oh, yeah, that's where you buy them. Yep. All right, we got a few more questions. We're about out of time. David, have you heard of using Vicks vapor rubs for mite control? Boy, do I have a long story to tell you about that. Yes, I have. That's a menthol idea. There are chemical treatments that are menthol based for bees that are legal. You can look into that, but I don't know the dosage. I don't know the application unless you were to have a real legal product like that. So you need to stick, I think, with legal things that have a higher efficacy, effectiveness of killing mites. Vapor rub's going to be possibly administered wrong and make all your bees sick or something. So be careful. Don't know for sure. All right. Couple of more questions tonight. Smoker question. I received some hemp straw. Can I use it in my smoker? Will it make my bees happy? I don't know about the actual hallucinative chemical that's in that hemp that you're making or not. I've read all kind of things that, about that. I'm not going to be able to speak with much certainty about what that's going to do to your bees. I wouldn't go crazy and use it on all your hives, and I would test it out first and make sure your bees are okay with that. Yeah. Don't go overboard at first with it. Choking, maybe? All right, one more question. We got time for one more, I think. Oh, yeah, just remember that no live stream next week. Going to miss you guys, but I hope you enjoy a great time with your family and at your Thanksgiving. And all of us here, Robbie and Sheri and me and Jessica, we all want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And we just appreciate you guys so much. Jessica had another obligation tonight. She wasn't able to be here. I know you guys miss her, but she'll be back with us soon. She would just had other obligations. So, yeah. So you guys are the best. I'm telling you what, we have such a good time with you guys. And I'm glad that I could make time for all of you tonight here in Texas, where I'm speaking tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here on the live stream. And I hope that you'll be watching all my videos that I make. I know some of you know about my live stream here, but you don't know I'm on YouTube. Anytime you go to David Burns YouTube, type in beekeeping on YouTube, David Burns, you'll see all my beekeeping videos there. If this is your first time on the live stream, I have a lot of videos on YouTube that you can really, really learn more about bees. Yeah, just from the bottom of my heart, I want to let you know that I appreciate you guys. Love you to the moon and back. And I hope you stay strong, whatever you're dealing with in life, whatever, however, you know, struggles, busy lifestyle, whatever's going on in your life, chin up. Let's be strong. Let's encourage one another. Find some people in your life to really encourage and be, let's all find a way to really be thankful for everything that we have going on in our life. That's such a blessing. You guys are a blessing to me. Yeah, I couldn't do this without you. All right, I'm going to say good night, and I'll see all of you in the next video.